XHS is your channel. XHS. XHS Entertainment.
Do you know who Jack Grealish is?
Hello, everyone. This is Jesse Silva Zacarias, live from Chicago. You can also call me Jesse. This is another episode of COPERACHA Football in English. Today is April 23rd of 2020. We're happy to welcome our collaborator, Alex Herrerias. He is joining us from Berwyn, Illinois. We'll be talking about European football, a little bit about our local team, the Chicago Fire FC. Alex, how are you doing?
Good, just enjoying the indoor weather here with the coronavirus. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Well, everyone, if you dig this, don't forget to subscribe. Today, UEFA Executive Committee met today during a video conference to come to an agreement about the European competitions. After the meeting, the UEFA determined that the postponed Eurocup 2020 will be played in 2021. It will keep its official name, Euro 2020, mainly to remind ourselves of how the family of football responded to the extraordinary circumstances in unity about the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, the European competition, UEFA, gave each country the freedom to decide which teams will enter the named European tournaments. UEFA assumes that the leagues cannot conclude, and it's asking all of the federations to choose the teams in quote unquote in sporting merits, which is a plan that only made sense. But now the UEFA gives them the green light, so they're able to implement it. For example, if La Liga cannot be finished, Barça, Madrid, Sevilla, and Real Sociedad will play the next Champions League, which leave Atletico Madrid out of the Champions League, obviously. Unless they continue all the way onto winning it. It doesn't sound impossible after beating the almighty Liverpool of Jurgen Klopp. And with that said, the Champions League will have to to be played only after all of the leagues involved are finished. There are still 8 teams in the round of 16 pending to play their respective games to achieve their quarterfinals. To remind ourselves, the next UEFA Executive Committee meeting will be this coming May 27. What do you think, Alex, about for instance, the La Liga, which teams will be considered to go to the European Champions League? Or let's face it, nobody but the teams involved in the Europa League care about it.
That's definitely how it's come down to be, and I think it's the smartest move that UEFA could say, because it's hard to make one established rule for so many leagues.
Right.
So it makes more sense to leave it to each country, especially with 4 of the spots already pretty much being solidified in La Liga, the 4 that you mentioned, and the other 2, they're still within range to shoot up with the Europa League. But for me, this sounds like the most logical. We were talking about the last show that they had to find a way to make sure that the domestic leagues and the Champions League can work at the same time, because one does depend on the other. There is no Champions League without a domestic league. So it's good that they let the domestic leagues themselves kind of dictate who's going to be going, because in the end, who knows the league better than the people who run it.
Exactly.
UEFA UEFA doesn't have the capacity to be running themselves that thin. So here, this is one of the few times UEFA is really making a good call on the first try.
Right.
I know UEFA has tripped up before on trying to implement new rules, new technologies, but at least here they've adapted to the COVID-19 situation pretty well. And moving forward, I can see this is a testing run for in case, God forbid this ever happens again in the future where an outbreak happens. At least now we have something in place to where we can work off of, given this happens again at some point in the future. But it's a smart move on UEFA to lean on the domestic leagues for this.
Yes. Well, it was, I don't know, kind of like the best option, right?
Really the only one, too.
Right, because I mean, they cannot force their European competitions to resume before the leagues are finished. Because I mean, how do you coordinate schedules again? Every league in every country are opening at different times.
Right.
Their restrictions. Well, there's been a bunch of rumors about transfer rumors, also amongst other football related stuff. We'll be talking about exciting transfer rumors, in the European leagues, as well as briefly about the Chicago Fire once again. So I talked to you earlier, right, about Sandro Sonali.
Right.
When it comes to Barcelona, I've seen him play before. Brescia, at the beginning of the season, he was doing really well. But just to introduce or tell people about Corriere dello Sport, what they published today. Corriere dello Sport announced that Barcelona will pay over 60 million euros for Sandro Tonali. Brescia is the last place currently of Calcio Serie A. They are 10 points away from non-relegation positions, and they have lost 4 of the last 5 games. It's worth saying that Brescia has 12 games remaining only to play. This seems like the club's last chance to make some dough before they almost for certain hit relegation by the end of the season.
Right.
Well, the president of Brescia, Massimo Cellino, said he would happily let Sandro Tonali go, but he didn't want to spoil a little surprise that he thought he would have to give Sandro. He said he would not want to tell him before June, but that seems unlikely because I don't think the leagues will resume before June.
Yeah, and if he tells him
Anyway.
a little earlier, it'll help him adapt or start changing gears to get to La Liga.
Right. Yeah. Have you seen him playing?
I've never really seen him play in league. I was watching highlight videos, extended plays. Earlier we were talking about who he compares to with Barcelona's former players. We
Right.
mainly said Iniesta. He seems to be a functional Busquets here.
Right.
He's got the height, the strength. He's not afraid to get on the ball. He's chasing it down.
Right.
I'm pretty sure in game he's a little more dynamic. You know how highlights are; they only show you the best.
Right.
But based on what I've seen already, he's able to hold his own. He's not afraid to put his arms out, really defend space. I think in terms of Iniesta, he's a young kid, so he'll eventually get to learning how to be a little more agile, reading the ball really well.
Right.
But he distributes it really well as of now. So for being 18, 19, he's on his way to probably being in top tier football. Even Pirlo said he's not going to replace me, but he'll be at the top for a while. I mean, it's hard to
Right.
replace Pirlo at any level. So I think the comparisons will come in time, but I think for right now he'd be a good new project for Barca to invest in because you have Ansu Fati working on the left. You have an aging Barcelona that needs to be replaced. So I think this is one of the pieces that they can start with. They already started the project with De Jong. They have Arthur in the midfield too to give him a little more support. So they're replacing each piece little by little.
Yeah, man. They need to renew their team. We know their age, what do you call it, media or
Hmm.
median, is not the best. I agree. I would not ever think Pirlo can be replaced,
Right.
because no player, you cannot repeat a player. People always go like, oh yeah, this is the new whatever, this is the new Ronaldo. They would say about Adriano. They would say he's the new Pelé about Mbappe. They say
Right.
we've seen countless new Neymars, countless new Ronaldos, like
Dybala is
Cristiano
the new Messi.
Ronaldo. Right, yeah. So we should all be more analytical of what we
Right.
see when it comes to football. I have to make an declaration, or I have to correct myself, because it wasn't Corriere dello Sport who published this. It was Corriere della Sera. My
Oh, okay.
apologies. Yeah, but yeah. So despite that Barca is willing to pay 60 million of euros on Sandro Tonali, which, football is really super, you know, inflated, if you want to say it. The prices are exorbitant. Like they're like too big.
Yeah.
There's no way Neymar would have cost in the real world if PSG would not be involved. Nobody
Right.
would think of those amounts
I
of
mean, look
money.
at. I know inflation is a real thing, but I mean, look at the quality of player you could get for 60 million
Right.
when Zidane was around.
Right.
Even someone like Kaká wouldn't break the bank for you.
Right.
Now we have youngsters who are 20,
Who
21.
haven't showed anything. You
Right.
have Dembele there.
And that's the thing. It's they. Yeah, I know. When Dembele came to Barca, it was his reveal was kind of a joke because he was nervous. He couldn't dribble. He couldn't do show. Like, you know how Ronaldinho came out. He
Mm,
put every show, every trick out there when he was doing his reveal.
right.
Dembele couldn't do any of that, and then people were like, "Oh, he's not worth the money." It really, I think, hurt his psychological start off to the season. Now he's gotten a little better, but you could tell when he first started, he was a young kid. He probably got shaken by the Spanish media, kind of like everybody does.
Yeah, they start believing they're the best player in the world, and that's when they lose ground like that, it's dangerous, not for anybody else but themselves. With that said, I was gonna point out that PSG is willing to pay more money for Sandro Tonali, even though Juve, Inter Milan, everybody has asked for him.
Right.
I believe Bayern Munich, they've asked.
I know Madrid. The two biggest names that I saw linked to him was Inter and Madrid, but I don't think Madrid is going to go after him. I think this is another one of the case where Madrid's just going after whatever Barca's going after.
The thing is that right, to make it impossible,
Right.
right. But Real Madrid normally puts their eyes on stronger central midfielders, just because
Mm.
they're aggressive. They're a team that has no style, but they counterattack.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to, like talk poop on them or anything, but historically they've played like that. They don't have a
Yeah, the
style.
Mourinho years were basically just sit back until someone makes a bad pass,
The thing
and
is that
that's what I hated.
during Mourinho, it was more infuriating, because with Mourinho, they would do it against whatever team. Even
Yeah,
against the 20th place, they would do it. They played like that. So that's why it got like demonized. But Real Madrid have always played like that. With
right.
the help of the refs, they've always been able. I remember watching them, walking from my house all the way to my uncle's house, Alejandro. He would have a ESPN, and they would always show Barcelona and Real Madrid, but mostly Real Madrid games. I would notice when I started analyzing football, I would notice that the refs would call would not call foul in attacks or
Right.
like defensive fouls. So the attacking team would lose the ball, and then they would be in a bad position defensively speaking, and then Real Madrid would have full advantage,
Right.
and they would not call those fouls, and that is why Real Madrid would have full advantage, and most goals would be like that. Refs didn't call a foul, and then they would counterattack and score because they have the best players to on open spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can totally tell the players at Madrid, they're probably nice people.
Yeah,
They're
they're
just
probably
they're just
yeah.
really aggressive. Ramos, for as many red cards as he has, I've seen
Right.
him push people and like the counterattack you just described. I've seen that so many times where Ramos just runs into someone, knocks him down.
Yeah.
The player's looking for the foul, and then all I see is just um, Asensio running down the wing, or Bale if he's fit enough to play,
Right.
going down the opposite wing. And it happens a lot where you can see the signings are usually either the fastest players or some of the strongest players.
Right.
And then they just get exaggerated. Uh, they're all myths and legends. Like we play FIFA, and we always talk about how in game the Madrid players just seem exponentially faster, more accurate,
Right.
and it's because they do buy really good players. So when you turn them into the video game version, they also get more ridiculous.
Sure. Yeah, but with that said, that is the type of player Real Madrid looks for. So I don't think they would be that interested really in Sandro Tonali. But you never know. I mean, they have now what's his name? He is Uruguayan, Valverde, Fede Valverde. He's a lovely player. He's one of the best players.
Yeah, he's a very good defensive player. I think he's a little better than Casemiro. I think Casemiro gives you the mature footballer that you want, but
Right.
I think in terms of overall player, I think Valverde has better potential overall, and he's faster.
He's
Casemiro's a
faster.
little slow.
Yeah, but they're definitely different positions. I mean, Valverde can play any position to begin with, but center midfielder is very specific, and I think Casemiro is better. And it's partly also because normally Real Madrid would have the advantage of Casemiro just committing foul after foul and nothing being called.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Neymar? Everybody, why do no? You know what? I'm not gonna talk about Neymar. Sport said that Napoli are interested in Umtiti. How ridiculous is that? Isn't Napoli the next Barca rival? Isn't just
Yeah, and
and
I mean it would make a little sense for them to sell Umtiti, but not to Napoli, because right now Umtiti is usually in and out of being injured, and that's not a player that we need. He's one of the better defensive ones, but he's not fit to play. Sometimes he just follows Piqué's orders, and we've seen Piqué get better in this season, but he's still delayed. He still needs a secondary player to back him up,
right.
and I don't think Samuel's to that level right now. And he's still young, so maybe he'll recover with all the injuries, but it just seems he's a liability more.
Right.
He's a
Yeah.
World Cup champ, but I don't know, it's something left him after he won.
I think he didn't want to recover entirely from the knee injury he went through. He didn't want surgery, so he recovered. Homeo in a way of homeopath. I don't know, but that's what messed him up. He should have gone through surgery right,
Right.
when Barcelona wanted him. But I mean, I also see because of his future. He's thinking ahead. He's thinking, what, 20 years ahead when he retires. He doesn't want to deal with a surgery, in his knee. He'd rather recover the natural way, and that
Yeah.
is what kind of got the board mad, and that's why they want to sell him, and not necessarily the board or the players or any coach, But I think that infuriated the media because the media, Barcelona media is kind of weird. They're kind of racist. So every black player they have a chance to throw poop at, they will.
Right.
And because they're fixated with Piqué and Lenglet. Honestly, our
They
best
want
defender.
Catalan or anybody
Right.
who's, yeah, like you said, they were a little more racist. They want more Catalan-looking people, I guess you could
Right,
say.
right. And Umtiti is our best defender. He's worth, because as you said, he's young. He's worth maintaining in the team. He's worth waiting for him because when he's at his level, which he shows it's just that he doesn't have the continuity on his playing time to
Right.
reach the level. So if you don't trust in a player like him who inspires the rest of the team, uh, with testicles,
Like
I
his,
would say.
right,
Yeah.
with all the energy. Because Piqué,
Right.
I would never make him a coach. I know sometimes I've seen him as second captain. And I like Barcelona for making the person who's been on the team the longest, or on the longest, the captain. But then sometimes you need to do it by attitude because Puyol, when he was the captain,
Right.
no one ever slid, no one ever slacked off.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they were winning, they were still always on defense.
Right.
But and even Messi right now is captain. Sometimes he doesn't have the body language to be captain.
Right.
He's the best player in the world, but again, look at how Argentina played very differently when Mascherano was captain in the World Cup
Mm-hmm.
versus when Messi was captain.
Right.
You need someone with that con huevos, like you said, to just back up the team, make
Right.
sure that they're not falling asleep.
Right. Yeah. And I believe that's the type of player Umtiti is. He carried on France, with his attitude. He would be on top of everyone, because he's an excellent player. He's the type of player you want in your team. Don't get rid of it, Barcelona. Be smarter about it. That's the whole point. Barcelona have nobody who knows football is in charge.
Right.
Nobody's gonna listen to Erika
It's all
Vidal.
businessmen.
Yeah, it's ran like a business, and it's not ran as a sports institution. It's particularly the football section because they do great in basketball, hockey, handball. They do
Right.
they do great, and it's just the important one, that's the one that remunerates you and gives you $1 million a year, thanks to Bartomeu. But it gives you money at the end, after
Right.
paying all the loans and all of that. It gives you money. They're not running it as an actual sports institution.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they're kind of losing the essence. I mean, it's printed on every uniform, Mexican club, but now they're starting to lose that aspect of it. Now it's becoming just a business instead of more than a club.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What is your expectation on the English league? Do you think they will resume? If they do, I would be blown away because of the only thing I think would happen to Liverpool and not win it. They need 6 points to win it.
Right.
The only thing they would need is to have lost all sort of concentration during this break, the pandemic break. That'd be terrible for them because they've never been that close except for when was it? 2013 was it when they were
right.
super close when Suarez was there and Coutinho was there. I think
That's when they had all their
Coutinho's
before
first
they
year.
sold all their all stars.
Right, yeah. Sturridge, wasn't he there? I think Sturridge and what's the other one? Sterling?
Yeah, that was
Excellent
before he went to Man
players.
City. Right.
Right, yeah. And they were never that close. And now if they lost it, I would just stop everything. I would stop believing in football. I'm gone. Yeah.
Honestly, I
Not
think
even doing the show.
I understand that they were on a bit of a losing streak, and this is after one of the more incredible winning streaks that has ever been recorded in football. So it makes no sense for me for them to not give them the award from the Premiership because they put in the work. They put in over 25 weeks of play plus every other game that they played in the Champions League. They've been consistent. It is unfortunate that they had those losses, but it's hard for me to believe that they would lose. They would have to lose almost every game and not win 2 games in order for win. And I don't think that they're capable of losing that many, even with the bad shape of form that they were in prior to the pandemic outbreak.
Right.
So to me, they've been consistent enough before this all started to tell me that they are the champs for the year. Man City doesn't even come close to being consistent as well, and that's with Pep spending a ton of money over the past few years just to build that team. And Liverpool's had their project too of revamping, but I think at this point, to be fair, I think Liverpool should win it. And there's people on the other side of the argument. I think I don't know if it was Rio Ferdinand or an ex-Liverpool player was saying that Liverpool shouldn't get the award because they haven't finished the season, but that doesn't make sense to me because it's almost over 75% done. With the results as in now, to me it makes sense. We do this with politics where when people vote and you get enough of the vote in, you close the polling and you kind of call it. And to me, that's almost the same situation where I can't see Liverpool not winning this year if the league continues.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could not see it either. That's why I was saying, dude, if it happens, yeah, there's
It'd be pretty sad.
what would you do, like, especially as a Liverpool fan? What would you do? Oh, by the way, remember Chelsea is trying to get Coutinho. Can you imagine if Coutinho went to Chelsea? Yeah.
I was reading about that right now when I opened up, I think it was Mirror, and they were saying that Chelsea might give him a good chance to revamp his career. But I don't understand where Chelsea's at right now because they're in the middle. They just lost Hazard. They're not in a good position in the table right now. So I don't know exactly if Coutinho is the best fit for him.
Well, yeah, and on a personal level, I would rather have Coutinho in Newcastle, and I think Newcastle made a move too. If Newcastle have something is money, but they don't generate as much money as an entity in order to make up for like big signings.
Hmm.
Yeah, we all these we don't like Chelsea except the ones that just jump in the winning wagon. But me as an older footballer and as an older football fan, I we all like Newcastle, Sheffield Wednesday, Wolverhampton. Oh no, not Wolverhampton. What's the other one with Watford?
Oh, right.
We like Crystal Palace. We like the teams that used to be, I mean, big back in the day. Sunderland, yeah.
Before
And
the
now-
money really stepped in.
Right. Yeah. And the money, the oil money or the multinational money that got involved into soccer really have come to basically terminate the teams. It was kind of coming, but now that the COVID-19 pandemic crisis hit on the soccer teams, it's really terrible. What it's done to the younger teams, for instance,
Right.
the ones that just open not to for instance, if PSG would not have been bought by the Qatar Foundation system, monetary system. I don't know if who runs PSG, if the country Qatar or the Qatar. Nobody knows who runs that. But if it wasn't for that, it's a younger team. It's
Right.
a team that started in like 75th or something like that. So the crisis would have been terrible for teams like those. For instance, Getafe, what are they gonna do? For instance, the Premier League teams are a little better off because they're smart about their finances.
Right.
Their leagues are ran properly. But think about teams that depend on the day to day, basically selling tickets. It's the oil money definitely came to ruin that, to terminate, and I think that's the main goal, to one day switch to a league that's only gonna have, Manchester United, Real Madrid, possibly
you can see.
Ajax, like, but it'll mainly be newer rich teams too, like Manchester City,
Right.
Chelsea, teams that were normal back in the day.
It's funny because there's a meme that I saw that was actually talking about how Man City fans always say that they're just as good as Man United, but then if you start counting the trophies in the past 15 years, you can tell that that's just new fans talking about stuff that they don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's young new fans.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's the team.
Nothing
Even
against them,
when
though.
Tevez was around, Tevez wasn't carrying the team at all. It was still a pretty low-ranked team. Like they were getting third, fourth place, but it wasn't until Arguero came on and they started making bigger signings that they actually went on to win. And then even since they won, when was the last time they won? Like 4 years, 5 years ago now?
Man City?
Yeah.
No,
The
or
Premier?
Manchester United. Because
Oh, no, when did Man City
won last year, just last year.
Oh, was last year? Oh, I don't know why it seems so long ago. When was the one where they won at the last minute?
With Aguero's goal?
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
I think that was 2013, 2012, 2013, no?
Yeah, and that was the first one that they had won in a while, and that was
That was
one of the first times where I was kind of rooting for them to win, just
Oh,
because
it was
an exciting moment.
2013 against Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh no, that just
And
reminded me of
it was bad because Liverpool had a chance to win it, but it was just such an intense game that.
Oh no, it wasn't against Liverpool, but the race was.
Yeah, the points. Yeah,
right,
the
right,
points were
by
up
points.
against each
Right,
other.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But it was that last second goal that it's that moment that makes soccer worth it, where just something exciting happened, and that's all that mattered.
Yeah, it's kind of like what do you call it? A movie? I don't know. Script.
Yeah,
it was
scripted
it
out.
was pretty sweet. I'm looking it up right now. I don't know if you want to talk more about how Tevez went directly from Man United to Manchester City thanks to the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of those characters that he's a little bit like Balotelli, who's uncontrollable on a team,
Right.
but is pretty talented, and then just goes for money wherever they want. And it hurts their career. We're starting to see that with younger players who tend to go just for money. You saw that with Oscar leaving Chelsea to go to the Chinese Super League. Carrasco left to go to the Chinese Super League. And I mean, I don't watch the Chinese Super League, but I'm pretty sure the competition is nowhere near the European leagues that have been established for decades.
Right.
The Chinese Super League is basically a project to try and create more revenue.
Right.
So you can see the quality is really different. That's what happens with younger players now, and it happens to a lot of Brazilian players where they get distracted by the money at the Chinese Super League, and then a couple years later they lose their talent a little bit because they're not being pushed to be better.
Right. Yeah, shit. I mean, I almost said a terrible word. I found the Manchester City. I think Liverpool ended up in third place, and Man United. The final race was Man City, Man United, and then oh yeah, Man United was playing against Sunderland, and so the goal of Aguero was against QPR, Queens Park
Rangers, right?
Rangers, yeah. And yeah, dude, that was just really neat for them, good for them, but bad for us who like soccer or football, because that was kind of unfair. I mean, there's no justice in soccer, right? I mean, there's no there's no I deserve. Nobody deserves anything in soccer. You gotta win it, like in most sports, But that was sick, man.
It's one of those moments that it's really rare. A few years ago, no, it was actually more than a few years ago when Barcelona won the most amount of points in La Liga.
Right.
The prior year, Real Madrid had broken the record that Barcelona had at like 98 or 99 points. And
Right.
it's really interesting that that's a different type of race for points. But every year we're seeing Barcelona and Real Madrid basically push each other to the end. And it's just strange that the Premier League was pushed to that moment because in La Liga that's almost a regular thing, but the Premier League it was like the one time where it's really exciting because most of the time it comes down to Pep running away with it a little
Right.
earlier than he should.
Right.
It's kind of the situation again what happens in Bayern where most of the years Bayern will win it like a month and a half early because no one's up to their level.
Right.
So it's nice to see football get a little even here, like now and then, even though it's big teams facing big teams. It still is fun to see that come down to the wire.
Yeah, dude, it's dramatic. It's not what the teams hope for, but what us as fans of the sport look for. Excitement.
Yeah, that's why we watch it.
Uh, right. So I have here the information. 57 points, Manchester City, who is the second place, and there are 9 games to be played. 6 points for Liverpool to win the Champions League. I mean the Champions League, the championship, because they got 82 points. That's a ridiculous amount. They've won 27 games. They've lost one and tied one. That is insane, man. Mind blowing. Leicester City with Jamie Vardy are third place. That they, along with Chelsea, would go, I think, straight to Champions League if the league would continue that trend. If they would like not lose or drop any points, hypothetically, if all of them won their respective games. But yeah, Chelsea is the fourth place. Fourth place is, and I should have. This production is not going very well when I'm like playing everywhere. I should be having the one view of me talking all by myself and stuff. But yeah, here I am. Anyway, Chelsea has 48 points, the fourth place, and Man City have 82, dude. What? I'm still impressed. Sorry, I've never been able to speak about Liverpool on air. I've been blown away by their performance this whole season, except losing against Atletico Madrid, which we actually didn't talk about in the introduction. I was gonna say, I said about Atletico Madrid how they can be out
Right.
of the competition next year unless they win it, and I said it would not be impossible since they beat tremendously almighty Liverpool, who we were talking about right now.
And that's the thing. I'd say on a consistent. That's the only way I feel you can beat Liverpool these days is that you have to catch them on the off day, and their off days are probably multiplied when you're doing a two-leg competition. Because I mean, we were talking about this last show. In order to be considered a good team, you have to perform domestically and then internationally. You can see that with Barca. Barca has won the domestic league. It's like 8 out of 10 years for the past 10 years, and it's pretty impressive. If you go back 15 years, they won the majority of those.
Right.
With Liverpool, they've been performing yearly, but this is the one year where they really come out and from the start. I thought it was going to stop, to be honest, at the 11th or 12th week of soccer, but then eventually they kept going and winning. And we were texting, me and you, you and I, a couple weeks back about how in our current generation the perfect season in soccer almost doesn't exist anymore because it's so demanding. You have so many more games played compared to the Invincible season back in was it the 90s. So the fact that they've only lost one and drawn one and their domestic league, and it's unfortunate that their Champions League record took that much of a hit that quickly. But this is a team that went to the finals 2 years, won the second time, made it pretty far this year round. So overall, I'd say they did the job. They proved that they went from being a top six team, regained their European glory from decades ago. So they're catching up again to where they were. So it's to me they deserve the Premiership. And then it is unfortunate that they got knocked out in the Champions League, but there's always next year, and they're in a position where they have a chance to come back even stronger next year.
Right. Cool. I like how I like our method of doing this show. We don't have like a script, so it's not all like all robotic.
Yeah.
Like we're definitely not actors like most anchors. We actually have a conversation. We have not strong ideas about what I think. We're trying to analyze the sport. I like that. Yeah.
And it gives us the time to react to what we're saying. I know a lot of TV shows, especially news, and not even just Fox News, but even MSNBC, all those they have really exaggerated points of view. But in a game like soccer, there's already a lot of that. So it's nice to be able just to focus on the normal tone of voice and then the facts that come along with it. Because I mean, I can't tell you, ESPN, a good source of information, but you can see how they get caught up in the drama and I don't know the commercialization of a lot of sports.
Right,
And
they need to
it's hard
sell.
shake. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they need to sell. They need the what do you call it? Controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we might be controversial by how our statements are too. Talking the reality about Busquets. We are Barca fans, but we are not blind by our
And loyalty.
by our loyalty, but because we have this is a platform for the entire world. We have viewers, the little viewers that we have, they're spread around the world, so it's pretty nice. So this is a platform that is really important, and it's worth for us, and we owe this to whoever is watching us. We owe them to be objective, and not kind of trick them onto something they might want to hear, because we are
Right.
actually doing the best we can to portray reality. But would you want to take a little break? I'm
Yeah.
just for like 2 minutes. Remember not to leave.
Okay.
Right? Cool. Just give me a second. Is it okay if I call you, my man?
Yeah. That's
On the
fine.
phone? Cool. Awesome.
XHS is your channel. XHS. XHS Entertainment. XHS is your channel, XHS. XHS Entertainment.
Entertainment.
Hello, welcome back to COPERACHA Football English. We went to a brief pause and welcome back. Alex, how you doing? We wanted to talk about Chicago Fire, right? How they have a whole season ahead of them. They lost their first game of the season. They played away against the current champions, Seattle Sounders. They lost 2-1, and then they tied their next game also away for what 1-1, right? They tied their game 1-1 against New England, right? So we were still waiting for the first home game at their new home, Soldier City. I bought season tickets. I was really excited, but thanks to COVID-19 and the stupid people that still go out. Oh no, we don't have any audio. Okay. Okay, yeah. You didn't have any audio. You have audio now. You couldn't hear me. I mean, you couldn't be heard, but yes. So, yeah. Welcome back, Alex, to the microphone and the sound. So, yeah. What to expect about the season? Should it be canceled? This is one of the seasons I think that would be worth being canceled because they've only played 2 games. You know, there's not much going on. It's not like you know, there's like an important European competition or like an important CONCACAF Champions League. It doesn't matter right now. They have played 2 games. It's very insignificant the amount of points anybody has made. I think they should cancel it till next year because if I mean we can't even gather around anymore to be on the stadium. What's the point? You know, when it comes to the business perspective, you know.
Yeah, I'd say for this is one of the cases where you should just call it a wash. Like you mentioned, it's only been a few games. And for right now, it also gives everybody a chance to recoup whatever losses they would have had throughout the whole year. It is unfortunate for the people who did buy tickets.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But I think for Chicago, I think there's enough of a pull here for Chicago Fire that even if they don't return for the season, that next year it'll get people to be excited again. Chicago's not a stranger to a team not doing well one year, not performing. So I think if the game is postponed for a season, people will come back next year more excited. It'll be really unfortunate for us since we won't be able to see them debut here at home for a whole year. But I mean, it'll have to be something we get used to. It'll be the case for a bit. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to restart, but to be healthy and keep everybody safe, probably not the safest.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Alex, for joining us today.
Oh yeah.
This was Cooperacha Football in English. Thanks, Alex Herrerias. Don't forget to follow him. I'm gonna put your Instagram right now. I'm gonna put it back so they can follow you. Don't forget to subscribe. I don't know. I don't have anything. What do you call the little thing that shows up?
Yeah, the track feed right there.
Yeah, the track feed. But don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Check out our website, hyphen Jesse.com, xh-jesse.com. Check us out. Check Alex Herrerias out. Support us, subscribe, give us a like, and share us with your loved ones. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was Cooperacha Football English.